think about our own wars, okay? The summer grass, 'tis all that's left of ancient warriors' dreams. And Basho was, or is, one of the most well-known and most appreciated Japanese poets. All right, but can you tell what a haiku is? And here's a definition, which I'm not going to read now, but I urge you to study it. Maybe the ones that are underlined are important. Form, content, and language. And I would say in a meaningful yet compact form. It's very difficult to write a good haiku, but you can write it. And actually you're going to write it. You're going to write it during this class, this lesson. And of course, usually they use simple words and grammar, simple grammar. It looks simple, but it isn't. It's very deep in meaning. And imagery is the most important thing. We're talking about images. Examples of Japanese haikus. First we have Basho, Matsuo Basho. Sleeping at noon, the body of the blue heron poised in nobility. Look how clean that picture is, that image is. You can even feel the stillness of the heron and the nobility of the heron. The other one, because it's 3 lines, that's all. Looking closely, I find a shepherd's purse blooming under the hedge. That means a shepherd that has had luck. Looking closely, and that's what you have to do when you read poetry. Look closely. Joseph Buson is, of course, a disciple of Basho's. He was a Buddhist, and he wrote this poem for Basho, the first one. Basho departed, and since then the year has never ended. Look how much you can say in just a few words. Struck by a raindrop, snail closes up. Because haikus are always about deep feelings, seasons, and always nature. Here you have the shepherd, there you have the heron, here you have, well, no, nature, yes, because Basho was a human being, and we're part of nature. And here the raindrop, the snail, and this one, the peony bud, when opening, shoots forth a rainbow. But there are contemporary haikus in English. Ezra Pound, who's a very controversial poet because he was supposed to be one of Mussolini's followers. Actually, he followed Mussolini's economics, and then he was tried for that and taken into prison. But he was a great poet. He wrote this poem, which is famous, and I tried to illustrate it with a map of where the metro goes in the city, all over, okay? And this one, which is a photograph that was meant to be for the poem. 2 old people waiting for the metro. And Ezra Pound wrote the following. In a station of the metro, the apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. Did you think you could write a poem about the metro? Well, there you are, you have it there. But how it changes. At the beginning it's just descriptive, the apparition of these faces in the crowd. But then the comparison, the metaphor petals on a wet black bough. All right? Okay. This is another contemporary author, David Sargent, who wrote and writes, because he's still alive. This one is about his baby. Sound of the thaw in her womb, our baby moving. There's nature there too, doing that miracle of a baby's growing in the womb of its mother. This one, I like it. It's like a web, dusting the corners, the curl of legs on a spider husk. Dusting the corners. I don't think you'll ever forget this poem when you see a web, a spider. And this one is about school. Look, school fair. A trace of smoke on the fire engine. You know what a fair is, right? Okay, good. Those are contemporary. And with that, I finish this part of the reading of poetry. I suggest the following. When you read poetry, read it through several times. If you read it once, maybe you'll grasp it. Maybe. I'm not too sure. But if you read it twice, you're going to start making sense of it. If you read it 3 times, you're going to really start thinking about it. And you're going to look up the words in a dictionary. Because although dictionaries are cemeteries, according to Cortázar, he called the dictionary a cemetery, when those words are taken out from that cemetery and put into context and together, the whole thing changes. And remember, reading a poem demands intensity, intimacy, silence, reflection, and at first glance, maybe you'll get some pleasure, but if you read it several times, you will not only get pleasure, but you will start understanding it. Never give up. Push on until you get the whole meaning. Remember that every good poem begins as a poet's, but ends as a reader's. This poem is no longer Ezra Pound's. It's ours now. It's sad, right? No, it's a gift. It's a gift. It's happiness because you're donating something and you can write it. Good poems yield more if read twice. And the best poems, after 10, 20, or 100 readings, still go on yielding. Can you think of a poem that you know, that you can read it and read it and read it? Let me just say one in Spanish, only the first line. Hay golpes en la vida, yo no sé. César Vallejo. I'll never forget that poem. And I read it and read it and read it, and I learn more and more and more of it. Or Shakespeare's famous sonnet, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. It's one poem about love that I don't think anybody can remain indifferent to, because it's about loyalty. Well, I hope you enjoyed the class. I hope I have convinced you that poetry is pleasurable, knowledgeable, thoughtful, and read poetry, a lot of poetry. And I guess I have to leave now because you have another class. and the bell rang. That I find not only cruel, but violent, because you're in the middle of a pleasurable moment, and the ring, 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 oh, I have to stop. That, I think, is violence. Well, hopefully you can return to your books and read more poetry.